I want you to pause for a moment and consider this question. If non-human intelligence has been visiting Earth, who would know about it first? The answer is obvious. Military and intelligence agencies with the world's most advanced tracking systems. Imagine the weight of holding classified secrets that could redefine humanity's place in the universe. The evidence is compelling. Tonight, we present testimony from 34 high-credibility intelligence officials suggesting the U.S. government has been secretly studying recovered alien technology since World War II. In July 2023, whistleblowers even testified under oath about recovered non-human craft and biological specimens. Yet mainstream media quickly moved on. The technological breakthroughs could transform what we believe possible. The pattern of secrecy. What if the most significant scientific discovery in human history has been deliberately kept from public view for over 80 years? Consider for a moment the implications of such a revelation. Advanced technology, potential extraterrestrial intelligence, and fundamental shifts in our understanding of physics, all concealed behind the layers of government classification and public ridicule. The official story begins in 1952 with Project Blue Book, the Air Force's public-facing UFO investigation program. But this visible effort represented merely the tip of an iceberg that extended far deeper into classified realms. While Blue Book examined thousands of reported sightings, its primary function wasn't scientific inquiry but public relations management. Behind the scenes, a very different approach was taking shape. Declassified documents reveal that as Blue Book publicly dismissed cases with explanations like weather phenomena and misidentified aircraft, the most compelling evidence was being quietly channeled to specialized intelligence units operating under strict secrecy protocols. This created a perfect information firewall. The public face of investigation appeared transparent while the most significant findings disappeared into classified channels. The 1957 Levelland, Texas incident illustrates this disconnect. Multiple witnesses, including police officers, reported a glowing, egg-shaped object hovering silently in the night sky, casting an eerie blue-green light across the landscape. As witnesses approached in vehicles, their engines mysteriously stalled and headlights failed. The air crackled with an unexplained energy that left observers shaken. Blue Book attributed this to ball lightning despite the clear weather conditions and multiple credible witnesses. Meanwhile, classified communications show serious internal concern about potential technological implications. This systematic approach established a recurring cycle. Public sighting leads to military investigation, followed by official dismissal, while simultaneously creating or expanding classified programs to study the genuinely unexplainable cases. The genius of this system was that it employed serious scientific inquiry as cover for deeper secrecy. The Robertson Panel of 1953 exemplifies this strategy. Convened by the CIA and led by physicist H.P. Robertson, this scientific committee publicly recommended debunking UFO reports. What remained classified for decades was that several panel members privately expressed serious concerns about cases they couldn't explain. The panel's recommendations became policy: discredit UFO reports while continuing to collect data behind closed doors. Similarly, the Condon Committee in the late 1960s publicly concluded there was nothing of scientific value in studying UFOs. Internal documents revealed committee members were denied access to the most compelling military cases. This negative conclusion justified terminating Project Blue Book in 1969, creating the impression that the government had lost interest entirely. In reality, the end of Blue Book marked the complete migration of serious UFO investigation into unacknowledged special access programs. With no public-facing project to maintain, these classified efforts could operate with minimal oversight or scrutiny. This pattern has remained remarkably consistent across administrations spanning both political parties for over 7 decades. From Truman to Biden, the approach has maintained continuity: public dismissal coupled with classified investigation. This suggests the matter transcends partisan interests and relates to something considered vital to national security regardless of who occupies the White House. By the 1970s, the strategy evolved to include active ridicule. Government officials and affiliated scientists publicly mocked UFO witnesses, creating a powerful social deterrent against reporting. Military and commercial pilots became particularly reluctant to report unusual aerial phenomena for fear of professional repercussions. This stigmatization created a self-reinforcing cycle. Fewer reports led to less public interest, which further reinforced the official narrative that nothing significant was happening. The 1976 Iranian fighter intercept case demonstrates this policy in action. When Iranian F-4 jets attempted to intercept a brilliantly glowing object over Tehran, they experienced weapons and electronics failures when approaching the craft. The public explanation was minimal, but classified internal assessments from the defense intelligence agency described it as an outstanding UFO report, where conventional explanations of this incident appear to be ruled out. By the 1980s and 90s, this dual-track approach had created an effective firewall between public knowledge and government operations. The establishment of waived unacknowledged special access programs, projects so classified that their existence is exempt from reporting to Congress, provided the perfect mechanism for continuing study without oversight. These programs operate under need-to-know restrictions so severe that possession of the required clearances isn't sufficient for access. This systematic burial of information created ideal conditions for what whistleblowers describe as the most classified program in government. The concealment wasn't merely about classification levels, but about institutional structure. By distributing knowledge across compartmentalized programs in government agencies and private aerospace contractors, the system ensured no single person had a complete picture of operations. The privatization aspect is particularly important. By the early 2000s, significant portions of these programs allegedly operated through private defense contractors, creating additional layers of insulation from government oversight. When programs operate under corporate secrecy in addition to government classification, they become nearly invisible to traditional accountability mechanisms. For over 80 years, through technological revolutions, political upheavals, and cultural shifts, this system has maintained its essential structure. The result has been the creation of what whistleblowers now describe as a shadow government, controlling access to potentially transformative technology and information. This systematic approach, public denial, active ridicule, and deep classification, created a social and institutional environment where the very possibility of non-human technology was rejected as inherently absurd. This established a perfect cover for continuing classified work without fear of public or congressional inquiry. After all, how can oversight be exercised on programs whose very existence is treated as ludicrous? The whistleblowers emerge. After decades of this impenetrable secrecy apparatus, a seismic shift occurred that no one anticipated. The guardians of these secrets themselves started speaking out. These weren't anonymous sources or distant observers, but the very officials who had managed classified programs and accessed their most restricted files. Beginning in 2017, a wave of credible insiders with impeccable national security credentials began coming forward with consistent accounts that directly contradicted the official narrative. Luis "Lou" Elizondo stands as perhaps the most significant of these whistleblowers. As the former director of the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, ATIP, Elizondo occupied a unique position within the Pentagon's UAP investigation infrastructure. With a 20-year career in military intelligence, including operations in Afghanistan and the Middle East, Elizondo had established himself as a trusted intelligence professional with top-secret clearances across multiple agencies. His resignation in October 2017 sent shockwaves through the intelligence community. The emotional weight behind Elizondo's resignation letter to Secretary of Defense James Mattis revealed a man driven to sacrifice his career for what he believed was right. In that letter, Elizondo cited excessive secrecy surrounding the program and expressed concern that critical information was being withheld from senior leadership and Congress. His pointed critique centered on what he described as a disproportionate influence exerted by certain defense officials who were actively suppressing UAP information for reasons he found alarming. Upon leaving the Pentagon, Elizondo began articulating a consistent message. The government had compelling evidence of objects demonstrating technological capabilities well beyond current human achievement. More disturbingly, he asserted that these incidents were not being properly reported up the chain of command, effectively keeping key decision-makers in the dark about potential national security implications. Then came the turning point that would transform the disclosure landscape. Christopher Mellon, the former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence under Presidents Clinton and George W. Bush, took an extraordinary step. Despite his family's banking fortune and prestigious position overseeing military intelligence, Mellon personally delivered 3 Navy UAP videos to journalists at the New York Times in 2017, knowing it would likely end his government career. His action was deliberate and born of frustration. I was told by multiple, credible sources that the UAP issue was being deliberately buried and sidelined at the senior staff level. Mellon explained in subsequent interviews. This calculated decision launched the first major mainstream reporting on Pentagon UFO programs in decades, confirming ATIP's existence and validating much of what UFO researchers had long suspected. The most recent whistleblower came forward with perhaps the most explosive claims yet. David Grush, a decorated Afghanistan combat veteran who worked at the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency and National Reconnaissance Office, specialized in UAP analysis as the UAP representative to the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force from 2019 to 2021. What distinguishes Grush is his methodical approach to disclosure. Rather than speaking directly to media, he filed a formal whistleblower complaint with the Intelligence Community Inspector General in 2022, following established procedures for reporting government impropriety. After months of rigorous vetting, the Inspector General deemed Grush's testimony credible and urgent, a formal designation carrying significant weight. Only after this official determination did Grush speak publicly, revealing in June 2023 that he had provided proof of an illegal crash retrieval program to Congress and Intelligence Community Inspectors General. His claims were specific. The U.S. government has possessed intact and partially intact non-human craft since the 1930s and has operated a multi-decade reverse engineering program outside of congressional oversight. The emergence of these whistleblowers, along with others like retired Navy pilot Ryan Graves and former intelligence officer Jim Semivan, presents a particularly challenging case for traditional skepticism. They represent career professionals from across military and intelligence disciplines, all converging on remarkably similar narratives. The personal costs they accepted speak volumes about their convictions. Security clearances represent not just professional assets but financial lifelines. By speaking publicly, they effectively close the door on their intelligence careers and lucrative contractor positions. Elizondo described how his personnel files were altered in apparent retaliation, while Grush testified under oath about suffering brutal counterintelligence investigations and personal reprisals. Equally notable is their restraint. None claim definitive knowledge about the origin of these alleged craft or promote conspiracy theories. They consistently focus on what they directly witnessed or learned through official channels, evidence of technology displaying capabilities beyond current human achievement, and systematic efforts to shield this information from proper oversight. Their collective impact has been unprecedented. In direct response to these revelations, Congress has held public hearings, established new reporting requirements, and mandated transparency measures for UAP programs. The 2022 National Defense Authorization Act established a permanent UAP office, now called the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, AARO, with explicit requirements to report findings to Congress. What makes this whistleblower wave truly remarkable is how it has completely reversed the information flow. For decades, UFO disclosure advocates sought government confirmation of their theories. Now, it's career government officials themselves who are pushing for transparency against institutional resistance. These are trusted insiders with decades of service insisting that the public deserves the truth about what they've discovered. The Italian connection. Among Grush's many startling claims, one stands apart for its historical implications and unexpected religious connection. While most UAP accounts focus on American soil, Grush testified about a recovered craft from 1933 Italy that allegedly involved one of history's most unlikely participants in a UFO recovery operation, the Vatican itself. During his sworn testimony before Congress in July 2023, Grush made a revelation that shocked even seasoned UAP researchers. When specifically asked about the earliest retrieval of non-human technology, Grush didn't point to Roswell in 1947 as many expected. Instead, he stated that according to his sources, the first recovery occurred in Magenta, Italy in 1933 during Mussolini's fascist regime. This claim pushes the timeline of alleged government interaction with non-human technology back by 14 years before the well-known Roswell incident. According to his testimony, the United States obtained this technology during the final stages of World War II through an unexpected intermediary, the Holy See. The Vatican was involved in the transfer of some of this material to the United States as early as 1944-45, Grush testified, introducing a religious dimension to this extraordinary claim. The timing aligns with a critical juncture in World War II. As Allied forces advanced through Italy in 1944, American intelligence secured not only territory but technical knowledge. Similar to Operation Paperclip's recruitment of German scientists, less publicized efforts took place in Italy, where Mussolini's regime had pursued advanced technological research. This period created unique circumstances where the Vatican maintained diplomatic channels with both sides of the conflict. As a neutral sovereign entity surrounded by Axis territory, the Holy See operated its own intelligence network, often serving as an information conduit between warring powers. Vatican officials, concerned about Soviet communism's spread, had motivation to prevent certain technologies from falling into Soviet hands. Italy in the 1930s under Mussolini's black shirt regime provides a striking backdrop for this alleged incident. The fascist state, with its imposing architecture, military parades, and cult of personality around Il Duce, represented the perfect environment for suppressing extraordinary discoveries. Black uniformed over a secret police patrolled streets where giant propaganda banners proclaimed fascist supremacy, a setting where unusual phenomena could be effectively contained and controlled. Like an ancient codex hidden within Vatican archives, this 1933 recovery represents a potential first chapter that would fundamentally rewrite our understanding of the UAP timeline. If authentic, it suggests our official history of UAP encounters resembles a book with its opening pages deliberately removed. Italian historical records from the Mussolini era contain references to unusual aerial phenomena that gained fascist authorities' attention. Specifically, reports from northern Italy in the early 1930s describe unexplained craft, prompting military investigations. Lombardy region, including Magenta, experienced documented, strange celestial phenomena witnessed by crowds. Declassified Italian military documents reference a recovery operation near Magenta involving multiple military branches, with recovered objects' details remaining redacted. Mussolini's regime maintained tight information control through sophisticated propaganda apparatus, effectively suppressing public knowledge of unusual events. The regime's close relationship with industrial firms like Fiat and Ansaldo provided infrastructure for covert research and development of military technology. The Vatican's alleged involvement adds complexity through its dual status as religious institution and sovereign state. Throughout the war, the Holy See maintained intelligence capabilities via Vatican Radio and its global clergy network, providing unparalleled access to information across territories held by both Axis and Allied powers. Post-war, accounts from OSS officers stationed in Italy mention unusual transfers of technical materials through Vatican channels as the conflict concluded. These documents establish the Vatican's role as intermediary for sensitive technical information moving to American control. By early 1945, as Allied forces secured northern Italy, American intelligence operations identified and secured advanced technology through the Alsace mission. While primarily focused on nuclear research, this mission extended to other militarily significant fields, securing technology before potential destruction or Soviet capture. If accurate, Grush's account suggests that by the Roswell incident in 1947, elements within U.S. military and intelligence already had 14 years of experience studying non-human technology. This would explain the seemingly established protocols witnesses described during Roswell recovery operations: rapid response, tight security, and efficient transportation to secure facilities. The 1933 Italian recovery claim potentially resolves a chronological puzzle noted by researchers. References to a legacy program for UAP research predating Roswell. This earlier recovery would provide missing historical context for these efforts. The Vatican connection raises questions about advanced technology intersecting with religious understanding. Church authorities' awareness of non-human technology would have profound theological implications. Researchers have noted changes in Vatican statements about extraterrestrial life beginning in the post-war period, including Vatican astronomers discussing theological compatibility of non-Earth intelligence with Catholic doctrine. This historical episode, if confirmed, represents an unusual collaboration: a fascist regime, the Catholic Church, and American intelligence services all handling potentially non-human technology. This convergence of political, religious, and military interests would explain extraordinary secrecy measures surrounding these events. Despite these claims' sensational nature, Grush maintains his information comes from dozens of first-hand witnesses with direct program knowledge. During congressional testimony, he confirmed these sources provided official statements as part of his whistleblower complaint, which investigators deemed credible and urgent. Observables. After months beyond witness testimonies lies something potentially more significant: hard data from military sensors showing objects that violate the fundamental laws of physics. The Pentagon's own analytical framework, known as the 5 Observables, categorizes behaviors that separate truly anomalous phenomena from conventional aircraft, and the implications challenge everything we thought we knew about technological possibilities. When ATIP was operating under the Department of Defense, Elizondo and his team needed a methodical way to filter genuine anomalies from misidentifications or known technology. The solution was a framework identifying 5 specific characteristics that indicate technology far beyond current human capabilities. This systematic approach transformed what might otherwise be dismissed as anecdotal reports into data points for scientific analysis. The first observable, instantaneous acceleration, describes objects capable of going from complete stillness to hypersonic velocities in the blink of an eye. Conventional aircraft require significant time to accelerate due to inertial mass. In the most dramatic cases, military radar systems have tracked UAP acceleration from stationary positions to speeds exceeding Mach 5 within less than a second, like a lightning bolt materializing across the sky. As one radar operator recounted, "I've never seen anything move like that. One moment it was there, the next it was 60 miles away." This acceleration would generate G-forces so extreme that any conventional material would be torn apart. Human pilots lose consciousness at sustained forces around 9 gigaseconds, even with specialized pressure suits. The documented UAP acceleration would generate forces exceeding several hundred Gs, far beyond what any known material could withstand. The second observable, hypersonic velocity without signatures, further defies conventional physics. Objects traveling faster than sound generate shock waves resulting in sonic booms and significant aerodynamic heating. Yet in the 2004 USS Nimitz incident, radar operators tracked objects descending from 80,000 feet to sea level in less than a second without sonic disturbances or heat signatures. "We kept waiting for the boom," one technician noted, "but it never came. Something moving that fast should have lit up our thermal imaging like a flare." The third observable, low observability, refers to the object's ability to selectively evade detection systems. Unlike stealth technology, which uses specialized materials to redirect radar waves, these objects appear capable of becoming completely invisible to certain sensors while remaining visible to others. This selective observability suggests active rather than passive stealth capabilities, as if the objects can somehow control which wavelengths of the electromagnetic spectrum they interact with. During one encounter, a frustrated sensor operator described it as playing hide and seek with something that knows exactly when we're looking and how. The fourth observable, transmedium travel, describes the ability to move seamlessly between different environmental mediums without losing performance. In the 2013 USS Kimball encounter, Navy personnel tracked objects performing high-speed maneuvers both above and below the ocean surface. From a physics perspective, this capability is particularly confounding, as water creates 784 times more resistance than air, like the difference between swimming through honey versus air. "It moved through water like it was nothing," reported one bewildered Navy witness. "It was like watching someone walk through a brick wall." The fifth observable, anti-gravity lift, identifies objects that remain stationary in midair without visible means of generating lift. The 2015 USS Roosevelt encounters documented objects remaining completely stationary in winds exceeding 120 knots without any visible lift mechanisms. More significantly, these objects showed no atmospheric disturbance below them, which would be unavoidable with any known propulsion system. As one pilot described, "It was like it was nailed to the sky. Nothing moves like that in those winds." What makes this framework particularly compelling is that it shifts the UAP discussion from subjective witness testimony to objectively measurable phenomena. When sensors detect objects exhibiting multiple observables simultaneously, the possibility of conventional explanation becomes vanishingly small. These aren't ambiguous sightings but precisely documented physical behaviors recorded by sophisticated military technology. The implications extend far beyond the question of origin. If these capabilities are achievable, they suggest fundamental gaps in our understanding of physics. The energy requirements for instantaneous acceleration would be astronomical using known propulsion methods. The absence of heat signatures during hypersonic flight contradicts basic thermodynamic principles. The transmedium capabilities suggest methods of negating environmental resistance that we haven't conceived. Most significantly, these observables demonstrate what appears to be manipulation of spacetime itself, technology that would revolutionize aerospace, energy production, and our fundamental understanding of reality. This is why ATIP scientists referred to these cases as potential technology breakthroughs, rather than simply unexplained phenomena. The evidence for these capabilities comes from military sensor packages specifically designed to be fraud-resistant and cross-referential. Modern fighter aircraft employ multiple redundant systems including radar, infrared, electro-optical, and visual sensors. In the 2004 Nimitz encounter, the object was simultaneously tracked by the USS Princeton's Spy-1 radar, multiple F-A-18 Super Hornet radar systems, FLIR cameras, and visual observation by 4 naval aviators, each independently confirming the object's extraordinary capabilities and effectively eliminating explanations involving equipment malfunction or atmospheric phenomena. The Tic Tac incident. While sensor data provides compelling evidence, nothing quite matches the first-hand account of a Top Gun-trained Navy commander who witnessed these capabilities up close. In 2004, Commander David Fravor found himself in an aerial encounter that would transform him from UFO skeptic to congressional witness. All because of a white, oblong object that behaved like nothing human engineering could create. November 14, 2004, began as a routine training day for the USS Nimitz Carrier Strike Group. Positioned approximately 100 miles southwest of San Diego, the carrier group was conducting combat training exercises in preparation for an upcoming deployment to the Persian Gulf. The weather was perfect. Clear skies, unlimited visibility, calm seas. But what started as standard military drills would evolve into one of the most compelling UAP incidents in modern history. For nearly 2 weeks prior, the USS Princeton's newly upgraded Spy-1 radar system had been detecting unusual aerial anomalies. Chief Master at Arms Sean Cahill, stationed aboard the Princeton, recalls the radar operator's confusion. The objects would appear at 80,000 feet, then descend rapidly to 20,000 feet where they would hover, before dropping to sea level or below in a matter of seconds. After comprehensive diagnostic checks confirmed the radar was functioning properly, the Princeton's Combat Information Center began actively tracking these objects. Senior Chief Operations Specialist Kevin Day described tracking multiple anomalous objects simultaneously. These things would just appear out of nowhere, Day stated. They'd be at 28,000 feet hovering, and then in an instant, they'd drop to just above sea level, hover, and then take off again at incredible speeds. When the objects appeared again during the November 14th exercises, the Princeton directed 2 F/A-18F Super Hornets from the Black Aces squadron to investigate. Commander David Fravor and Lieutenant Commander Jim Slight were diverted from their training mission to examine what the radar operators were tracking near San Clemente Island. As Fravor's aircraft approached the coordinates, he noticed something disturbing the otherwise calm ocean surface below. What he described as resembling water boiling over a reef, creating a circular area approximately 50 to 100 meters in diameter. As the pilots circled to investigate this disturbance, they spotted something unusual hovering directly above it. It was white, oblong, and about 40 feet long with no wings, no rotors, no control surfaces, and no visible means of propulsion, Fravor would later testify. It reminded me of a Tic Tac mitt. The object appeared to be defying the laws of aerodynamics, maintaining perfect stability despite the absence of any conventional flight mechanisms. What happened next would challenge everything Fravor thought he knew about aircraft performance. As he descended and began a circular intercept pattern, the Tic Tac object seemed to respond intelligently to his presence. It started mirroring my movements, Fravor recounted. When I tried to close the distance, it accelerated rapidly and disappeared in less than a second. The object's departure was so instantaneous that Fravor was left stunned. I've never seen anything accelerate that fast in my life, he stated. Like a sentient puzzle piece that refused to obey physical laws, it vanished and reappeared almost instantly at the pilot's pre-arranged rendezvous point 60 miles away, a distance that would take conventional aircraft approximately 10 minutes to traverse. When a second F/A-18 team led by Lieutenant Chad Underwood was vectored to investigate shortly after, they captured the now famous FLIR video of the object, later released by the Pentagon in 2017. The footage, nicknamed FLIR-1, shows the object's extraordinary maneuverability and instant acceleration that seemingly defies inertia. The Nimitz case's compelling nature stems from its convergence of multiple evidence forms. 4 experienced aviators visually observed the object. 2 separate radar systems tracked it, infrared camera footage captured its movement, and multiple crew members aboard both ships witnessed the events unfold. Lieutenant Commander Underwood, who captured the FLIR footage, emphasized the object's unusual characteristics. It was going 138 knots at 20,000 feet, which is not a ballistic trajectory. It was not behaving in accordance with the laws of physics as we understand them. Technical analysis performed after the incident reinforced its extraordinary nature. Calculations of the object's acceleration based on radar data determined it experienced forces that would have destroyed any conventional aircraft and instantly killed any human occupants. The absence of any visible exhaust plume or propulsion system defied explanation within our current understanding of aerospace technology. Gary Voris, a systems technician on the Princeton, later revealed that within 24 hours of the incident, unknown officials arrived on board and confiscated all radar data recordings and electronic logs related to the encounters. They took everything, Voris stated, and they told us not to talk about what we had seen. What truly stands out is how this experience affected Commander Fravor himself. As a decorated fighter pilot with impeccable credentials, Fravor had every incentive to remain silent. Yet the encounter so profoundly shook his understanding of reality that he felt compelled to speak out. What I saw that day changed everything I thought I knew about what's possible in our skies, Fravor later reflected. It wasn't just unusual, it rewrote the rulebook. I've been flying for 18 years, and I've seen pretty much every aircraft in the world, Fravor testified to Congress. I've never seen anything perform like what that Tic Tac did. The technology that I witnessed exceeds anything we currently have in our inventory. And I believe it exceeds anything that exists in the private sector as well. When asked what he believed the object was, Fravor's response was measured but unambiguous. I believe it was not from this world. His willingness to stake his professional reputation on such a declaration speaks volumes about the profound nature of what he witnessed. After the footage was released in 2017, other naval aviators began coming forward with similar accounts. Lieutenant Ryan Graves, an F-A-18 pilot with the VFA-11 Red Rippers squadron, revealed that similar objects were encountered almost daily off the eastern seaboard between 2015 and 2017. These were not isolated incidents, Graves testified. They became so commonplace that we began treating them as safety hazards. Nuclear connection. Beyond training zones and open airspace encounters, a more concerning pattern has emerged. Since the 1940s, these unidentified objects have shown persistent interest in our most sensitive nuclear installations, facilities where a single breach could trigger global catastrophe. This systematic surveillance of nuclear sites represents one of the most significant and well-documented aspects of the UAP phenomenon. In March 1967, at Malmstrom Air Force Base in Montana, something extraordinary happened that remains unexplained to this day. Captain Robert Solis was on duty in the underground launch control facility when security personnel above ground reported seeing strange red, glowing objects hovering over the missile field. Minutes later, in a scenario that defies conventional explanation, 10 Minuteman nuclear missiles simultaneously went offline, their guidance and control systems completely disabled. I received a call from my topside security guard who was extremely frightened. Solis later testified to Congress. He was looking out the window with a guard, and they saw a glowing red object hovering over the front gate. As he was telling me this, our missiles began going into no-go status. These were missiles that were on strategic alert. They were no longer available for launch. What makes this incident particularly significant is that the 10 missiles were not connected to a single circuit. Each operated on independent systems specifically designed to prevent simultaneous failure. Air Force investigators found no conventional explanation for the shutdown. The official report stated that no clear explanation was ever found, but noted that all missiles had to be manually reset, and no equipment failures were identified. This was not an isolated incident. 8 days earlier, similar events occurred at another Malmstrom launch facility called Echo Flight, where Captain Eric Carlson witnessed all 10 of his missiles drop offline while UFOs were reported in the vicinity. The military's explanation, that an electronic signal caused the failure, was contradicted by Missile Maintenance Officer Walter Figel, who confirmed UFO sightings coincided with the system failures. The pattern extends far beyond Malmstrom. In 1975, strategic Air Force bases across the northern United States experienced a wave of security breaches by unidentified aerial objects. Declassified documents from this period contain extraordinary language. A National Military Command Center report states, unknown aircraft penetrated the ADC radar fence. The unknown disappeared after 25 minutes of observation. The site was contacted and confirmed visual sighting of an unidentified flying object. These phenomena cross international boundaries, suggesting a global monitoring interest. Russian facilities have documented similar incidents with remarkable technical parallels. In 1982, a massive object reportedly appeared over the Bielokorovice nuclear base in Ukraine, hovering directly above a nuclear missile silo. Former Soviet military officials have described multiple incidents where UFOs activated launch sequences in missile systems before shutting them down. For 15 minutes, the UAP took control of our missiles, reported former Russian intelligence officer Marina Popovich regarding a 1994 incident at Saratov Oblast. Senior officers present believed they had lost command authority of nuclear weapons, a scenario military planners consider among the most dangerous possible. Chinese facilities have not been exempt. Former Chinese military officials acknowledge unusual aerial phenomena near the Lop Nur nuclear test site. During nuclear tests in the 1980s, radar operators tracked unidentified objects appearing immediately before and after detonations, seemingly monitoring the tests with precision timing. European nuclear installations report similar activity. The British Ministry of Defence has documented comparable incidents at RAF Woodbridge and RAF Bentwaters, bases that reportedly housed tactical nuclear weapons during the Cold War. The famous Rendlesham Forest incident of December 1980 involved multiple military witnesses observing unusual craft near suspected nuclear storage areas over 3 consecutive nights. What distinguishes these nuclear facility incidents is their exceptional documentation. These cases typically involve multiple military witnesses with security clearances, radar confirmations, physical effects on sophisticated equipment, official documentation through military channels, and system failure records that cannot be attributed to known causes. The technical nature of these interactions suggests deliberate action rather than random observation. At Malmstrom, the systems affected were specifically those controlling launch capability, demonstrating precise knowledge of exactly which systems to target. In the Russian cases, the objects appeared to test response protocols by initiating then aborting launch sequences. The timing of these incidents forms a compelling pattern. The first major wave of modern UFO sightings coincided with humanity's development of atomic weapons. Following the Trinity test in 1945 and the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombings, reports of sophisticated aerial craft increased dramatically across multiple countries. Recent whistleblower testimony adds another dimension to this nuclear connection. David Grush has suggested that recovered non-human craft display technological characteristics indicating advanced understanding of nuclear physics, utilizing energy generation systems that may operate on principles similar to but far beyond our understanding of nuclear reactions. If non-human intelligence is monitoring our nuclear capabilities, what is their purpose? Security analysts propose several theories: technological assessment of our progress, threat evaluation to determine if we pose risks, intervention prevention to ensure we don't trigger self-extinction, or resource protection to safeguard Earth from extreme damage. Former Air Force Captain Robert Salas, who experienced the Malmstrom incident firsthand, believes these beings are concerned about our misuse of nuclear weapons. They have repeatedly demonstrated they can disable our nuclear capabilities. I believe they're sending us a message about the danger these weapons pose. This perspective aligns with the non-aggressive nature of these encounters. Despite demonstrating capability to disable our most sophisticated weapon systems, there has never been a documented case of these objects using offensive capabilities against human targets. The interventions appear calibrated to demonstrate capability rather than cause harm, suggesting a deliberate, ongoing monitoring program that spans decades and national boundaries. Crash retrievals and reverse engineering. The intelligence gathering patterns at nuclear sites represent just one piece of a much larger puzzle. According to David Grush's sworn testimony before Congress, the U.S. government has been secretly retrieving and attempting to reverse engineer non-human craft since the mid-20th century, programs allegedly hidden from proper congressional oversight for decades. During his July 2023 testimony, Grush stated unequivocally that the United States is in possession of intact and partially intact vehicles of non-human origin. This testimony came after a 4-year investigation during which Grush personally interviewed 40 individuals with direct knowledge of these programs, many still active in government service. These are retrievals of non-human origin vehicles and, in some cases, they're dead pilots, Grush testified, adding that this information was purposely excluded from congressional oversight. His allegations described physical technology allegedly in government possession, not distant observations or ambiguous phenomena. What makes Grush's testimony compelling is his methodical approach. As a trained intelligence professional, he spent years conducting interviews with first-hand witnesses, collecting documentation, and following established whistleblower protocols. These were direct participants in classified programs who spoke to him in official capacities. The alleged recovery operations involve government agencies and defense contractors working within Special Access Programs, SAPs, the military's most restricted classification level. This structure creates situations where even high-ranking officials may remain unaware of the programs without a specific need to know. Former Navy pilot Ryan Graves, who testified alongside Grush, confirmed encounters with technology demonstrating capabilities beyond known aircraft. Jonathan Gray, a current intelligence officer with the National Air and Space Intelligence Center, has publicly corroborated aspects of Grush's testimony, stating that he personally knows individuals who have worked in classified programs examining non-human intelligence, and that recoveries have been made of non-human craft. The technology described in these testimonies defies conventional understanding. The 5 observables documented in military encounters: instantaneous acceleration, hypersonic velocity, low observability, transmedium travel, and anti-gravity lift, suggest propulsion systems fundamentally different from our current understanding of physics. Our most advanced aircraft rely on combustion principles and aerodynamic surfaces, obey thermodynamics, generate heat signatures during high-speed flight, and face structural limitations during extreme maneuvers. The UAP observed by military personnel demonstrate none of these limitations, suggesting entirely different physical principles at work. If reverse engineering efforts have been ongoing for decades, certain technological breakthroughs may be connected to these programs. The remarkably rapid development of integrated circuits represents a potential example. The transition from vacuum tubes to transistors and eventually microprocessors represented quantum leaps rather than incremental improvements in computing technology. Materials science shows similar advances that parallel claimed retrieval timelines. Memory metals that return to their original shape after deformation, super hydrophobic surfaces that completely repel water, and metamaterials that manipulate electromagnetic waves emerged with surprising rapidity in the late 20th century following alleged initial recoveries. The national security implications present particular concern in Grush's testimony. He specifically mentioned that foreign adversaries are also retrieving non-human craft, creating what he described as a reverse engineering arms race, with potentially devastating consequences. The first nation to successfully replicate these advanced systems would gain an insurmountable military advantage. This technological competition might explain the recent acceleration in hypersonic weapons development across the United States, Russia, and China. While officially presented as extensions of existing rocket technology, the development timelines for these systems, capable of traveling at 5 times the speed of sound while maintaining maneuverability, have been surprisingly compressed. The full capabilities of this technology may extend far beyond flight applications. If propulsion systems exist that can manipulate gravity or space-time itself, applications could include energy production, manufacturing, and medical technologies operating on principles currently beyond our scientific framework. Skeptics highlight the extraordinary nature of these claims and the lack of publicly available physical evidence. For Grush, providing evidence meant following established whistleblower protocols, providing classified information to appropriate oversight authorities, and testifying under oath at risk of perjury. The classification structure surrounding these programs creates a troubling paradox. The more significant the recovered technology, the more restrictive the classification, making proper oversight increasingly difficult. Grush alleges that even congressional intelligence committees have been denied accurate information about these programs, raising constitutional questions about governmental checks and balances. The credential level of whistleblowers coming forward lends weight to these claims. These are central figures in the intelligence and defense apparatus who've held positions of significant trust and responsibility, risking careers, reputations, and potentially freedom by coming forward. The fundamental question remains: what did David Grush claim about non-human craft recovery programs? Under oath before Congress, he testified that the United States government has retrieved multiple crashed vehicles of non-human origin, along with biological remains of their pilots, as part of decades-long special access programs deliberately hidden from proper congressional oversight. He further claimed that this technology is being actively studied through reverse engineering efforts with significant behind David Grush's explosive testimony about recovered craft lies an even more disturbing revelation: the potential existence of what Luis Elizondo calls the Legacy Program. Perhaps the most tightly controlled secret in American history, one capable of hiding momentous discoveries even from sitting presidents. The Legacy Program represents a profound constitutional crisis. If whistleblower accounts are accurate, unelected officials maintain control of potentially world-changing technology while deliberately excluding elected representatives from knowledge of its existence, striking at the heart of democratic governance. Elizondo first mentioned this program during interviews after leaving the Pentagon, describing it as an ultra-classified investigation into non-human technology that has operated continuously since the 1940s. His claims are particularly troubling because of the mechanism he outlined for maintaining such secrecy across multiple administrations and decades of congressional oversight. These programs exist completely outside the traditional oversight structure, Elizondo explained. They bypass the normal chain of command by design, creating plausible deniability at the highest levels of government. This is a deliberate feature of the system, like an invisible puppet master pulling strings behind the scenes of government. The Legacy Program allegedly operates through several sophisticated secrecy mechanisms working in concert. First is the classification category known as Waived Unacknowledged Special Access Programs, or WSAPs. Unlike conventional classified programs, WSAPs operate under different rules that exempt them from standard reporting requirements. Documents obtained through Freedom of Information Act requests show these programs can legally exclude their existence from the comprehensive black budget reports provided to congressional intelligence committees. Their funding is concealed through mislabeled appropriations across multiple agencies, making financial tracking nearly impossible. Former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence Christopher Mellon explained that, in this classification structure, the very existence of the program is the secret. The fact that the program exists at all is classified above top secret. This creates a situation where even asking about the program constitutes a security breach. The second mechanism involves extreme compartmentalization. Traditional security clearances, even at the highest levels, don't automatically grant access to these programs. Instead, a complex system of special access approvals creates barriers that can exclude virtually anyone, including presidents and defense secretaries. Dr. Eric Davis, an astrophysicist who has consulted on government UAP research, explained, these programs are divided into dozens of compartments, with each only knowing their specific task. Personnel working on propulsion might have no idea their technology came from a recovered craft. Those documenting biological material might never learn about the propulsion research. This compartmentalization maintains secrecy while creating plausible deniability. If questioned, officials can truthfully state they have no knowledge of crash retrievals or advanced technology programs, because they've been deliberately kept out of those compartments. The third component involves privatization shields. By transferring materials, research, and operational control to defense contractors, these programs exploit a legal gray area that exempts them from many government oversight mechanisms. Private companies aren't subject to Freedom of Information Act requests and can claim proprietary protections for technology. This creates institutional memory, ensuring programs continue regardless of administration changes. Former intelligence officer Thomas Wilson reportedly discovered this mechanism firsthand when, despite his senior position and appropriate clearances, he was denied access to UAP materials held by a major aerospace contractor. According to notes from his conversation with Dr. Davis, Wilson was told, "It's not your right to know. You don't have a need to know. It doesn't get any higher than this." The fourth element involves what Elizondo calls the Collins elite, a group within military and intelligence circles driven by religious fundamentalism. This faction reportedly believes the non-human presence represents demonic activity and blocks information sharing based on theological concerns, creating another layer of obstruction. For those who attempt to penetrate this veil of secrecy, the consequences can be severe. Multiple whistleblowers describe coordinated intimidation efforts against those who question these programs or attempt to bring information to oversight authorities. Carl Nell, a retired Army colonel who worked closely with Grush, confirmed that his colleague faced brutal retaliation for his disclosures. The full weight of the counterintelligence apparatus was brought against him, Nell stated. They attempted to destroy his career and personal reputation through coordinated campaigns of harassment. This pattern of retaliation serves as a powerful deterrent against others who might consider coming forward. According to Elizondo, the message is clear. Speak about these programs and your life will be systematically dismantled. This threat maintains an atmosphere of fear that further insulates the legacy program from external scrutiny. We're potentially dealing with the most significant scientific discovery in human history. Technology that could transform energy production, transportation, medicine, and our understanding of physics itself, Mellon emphasized. The idea that this could be controlled by a small group operating outside oversight is deeply troubling. Yet despite these formidable secrecy mechanisms, the system may be showing cracks. The unprecedented wave of credible whistleblowers suggests that some within the legacy program have concluded that the public interest in disclosure outweighs their security oaths. As Elizondo stated, there comes a point where your obligation to the Constitution and the American people supersedes your obligation to protect classified information, especially when that classification itself may be unconstitutional. The hypersonic arms race. As the walls of secrecy around classified programs begin to crack, an alarming pattern emerges on the global stage. Three of the world's most powerful nations, the United States, Russia, and China, are engaged in an unprecedented race to develop weapons capable of traveling at hypersonic speeds, defined as Mach 5, 3,836 miles per hour, or faster. The timing of this technological sprint raises troubling questions about its true origins. In August 2021, the U.S. Army tested its long-range hypersonic weapon system at the Pacific Missile Range facility in Hawaii. This prototype reaches speeds of Mach 17, mirroring the extreme velocities documented in military UAP encounters. Russia's Avangard hypersonic glide vehicle reportedly achieves Mach 27 while performing evasive maneuvers, reminiscent of the aerial phenomena witnessed by Navy pilots. China's July 2021 test of a nuclear-capable hypersonic glide vehicle that circled the globe demonstrated precisely the global reach capability that UAP observers have reported for decades. The official narrative frames this as a conventional arms race, but whistleblowers suggest deeper connections. Former Pentagon UAP Program Technical Director Jay Stratton, in a closed-door briefing to defense officials, reportedly compared the significance of understanding these technologies to the Manhattan Project. "We're looking at a quantum leap beyond anything currently in our arsenal," Stratton stated, according to individuals present at the briefing. The performance characteristics we're pursuing closely mirror what we've observed in unidentified aerial phenomena. The striking similarity between hypersonic research goals and the 5 observable characteristics documented in UAP encounters creates a compelling connection. The emphasis on developing vehicles capable of extreme maneuverability at hypersonic speeds directly parallels the instantaneous acceleration observed in UAP encounters. Current prototypes still rely on conventional rocket boosters for initial acceleration, but research programs are exploring electromagnetic propulsion systems that could potentially achieve the same effect as the technology witnessed by military pilots. The focus on managing extreme heat reveals another parallel. Conventional objects moving at hypersonic speeds generate temperatures exceeding 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to melt most metals. Yet, as former Pentagon physicist Dr. Travis Taylor noted in internal program documents, UAPs observed by military sensors show no thermal signatures consistent with the speeds at which they travel. Understanding this heat management could revolutionize our approach to hypersonic flight. The timing raises questions about technological inspiration. The $3.8 billion allocated for hypersonic weapons development in the 2023 defense budget emerged shortly after the Pentagon's UAP task force began formal operations, a correlation that suggests potential knowledge transfer. This connection gains credibility alongside Senator Marco Rubio's specific concerns about foreign technological advantages. "We have things flying over military installations in places where we're conducting military exercises, and we don't know what it is and it isn't ours," Rubio stated to CBS in 2021. The bottom line is that if there are things flying over your military bases and you don't know what they are because they're not yours, and they exhibit potentially technologies that you don't have at your own disposal, that to me is a national security risk and one we should be looking into. The senator's reference to technologies you don't have at your own disposal connects directly to whistleblower claims about recovered non-human craft. Intelligence analyst Malcolm Wright explains, "The language used by officials like Rubio is carefully calibrated. They're acknowledging the technological gap without explicitly connecting it to its alleged source." This technological gap has become central to national security discussions. In March 2018, General John Hyten testified that, "We don't have any defense that could deny the employment of such a weapon against us." His urgency reflects concerns that Russia or China might be making faster progress in understanding and applying the advanced concepts potentially gleaned from UAP technology. Former Pentagon consultant Dr. Hal Puthoff provided context in a presentation at the Society for Scientific Exploration. "For reasons I won't go into, we think the Chinese are also working on it. So it's not something we can ignore. Control of such technology would transform space access, energy production, and material science." A senior Lockheed Martin Skunk Works engineer noted, "The nation that masters these principles will dominate the next century of technological development." This advancement would rewrite the rules of what's possible. This prize has driven what Grush described as a reverse engineering arms race among global powers. According to his testimony, both allied and adversarial nations have recovered their own non-human craft and established parallel programs. The results are emerging as prototype weapons demonstrating capabilities previously considered impossible. Dr. Gary Nolan expressed concern. "If nations are attempting to reverse engineer technology that's potentially thousands or millions of years more advanced than our own, the risk of misapplication or unintended consequences is severe." The pattern becomes clearer with specific breakthroughs. China's radar system capable of detecting stealth aircraft emerged after years of UAP reports describing objects that can selectively control their observability. Russia's nuclear-powered cruise missiles followed reports of objects operating without conventional energy limitations. The Army's LRHW program produces vehicles maneuvering at hypersonic speeds, mirroring, in limited form, UAP capabilities. Former DNI John Ratcliffe highlighted the implications. "When we talk about sightings, we're talking about objects that have been seen by Navy or Air Force pilots, or have been picked up by satellite imagery, that frankly engage in actions that are difficult to explain, movements that are hard to replicate, that we don't have the technology for." The hypersonic arms race potentially signals an attempt to harness technology of non-human origin before geopolitical rivals. As one intelligence official told Congressional investigators, "We're concerned about technologies that could fundamentally alter the balance of power overnight." The changing official narrative. Behind closed doors, something extraordinary forced the U.S. government to completely abandon its long-standing UFO denial strategy. The timeline tells a revealing story, from mockery and dismissal to congressional hearings and a dedicated Pentagon office in just 5 years. For decades, the pattern remained consistent. When confronted with unidentified aerial phenomena, the official response was dismissal, ridicule, and denial. This approach persisted from the closure of Project Blue Book in 1969 through the early 2010s. Military encounters were buried in classified reports, pilots feared career repercussions for reporting sightings, and the public narrative reinforced the notion that serious people don't take UFOs seriously. Then something changed dramatically. In December 2017, the New York Times published its front-page article revealing the Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, ATIP. The article included 2 declassified videos showing Navy pilots encountering objects performing seemingly impossible aerial maneuvers. This watershed moment marked the beginning of a rapid transformation in government policy. The curtain that had concealed decades of secrecy began to lift, revealing a stage set with advanced technologies and unexplained phenomena that officials could no longer ignore. By April 2020, the Department of Defense officially released the Navy videos and acknowledged their authenticity. Pentagon spokesperson Sue Goff explained, "DoD is releasing the videos in order to clear up any misconceptions by the public on whether or not the footage that has been circulating was real." This represented a stunning reversal from decades of denial to official confirmation. The transformation accelerated in August 2020 with Deputy Secretary of Defense David Norquist establishing the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force within the Office of Naval Intelligence. For the first time since Project Blue Book, the Pentagon publicly acknowledged an official program dedicated to investigating these phenomena. June 2021 brought another breakthrough when the Office of the Director of National Intelligence released its preliminary assessment examining 144 UAP incidents. The report stated that a handful of UAP appeared to demonstrate advanced technology, and in 18 incidents, observers reported unusual UAP movement patterns or flight characteristics. These cases involved objects that appeared to remain stationary in winds aloft, move against the wind, maneuver abruptly, or move at considerable speed. without discernible means of propulsion. The carefully worded document marked the first time since the 1960s that an official government report formally recognized objects demonstrating capabilities beyond current technological understanding. Congressional action followed in late 2021 with the establishment of a permanent Pentagon office dedicated to UAP investigation. The All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office would receive direct funding and authorization to investigate UAPs across all military branches. May 2022 saw Congress hold its first public hearing on UAPs in over 50 years. Deputy Director of Naval Intelligence Scott Bray played previously classified video showing a spherical object rapidly passing a fighter jet, admitting, "I do not have an explanation for what this specific object is." Officials confirmed the existence of a database containing approximately 400 UAP reports and committed to eliminating the stigma associated with reporting these encounters. The July 2023 hearing featuring testimony from UAP whistleblowers David Grush, Ryan Graves, and David Fravor brought perhaps the most significant revelations. Their statements included claims of recovered non-human craft and biologics, systematic concealment of programs from congressional oversight, and first-hand accounts of encounters with technology demonstrating capabilities beyond known physics. What makes this transformation in official policy remarkable is both its speed and comprehensiveness. In less than 6 years, the government position evolved from complete denial to establishing multiple investigation programs, regular congressional briefings, and standardized reporting mechanisms for military personnel. This shift transcended partisan politics, with both Republican and Democratic administrations supporting increased transparency. The practical changes include a formal reporting system protecting personnel from professional repercussions, regular reporting requirements to Congress ensuring information can't be buried, and coordination between multiple agencies with ARO serving as the central clearinghouse. The Pentagon's terminology evolved significantly. Officials abandoned explanations like weather balloons or swamp gas in favor of acknowledging unidentified aerial phenomena, demonstrating advanced technology, and exhibiting unusual flight characteristics. This linguistic shift represents a fundamental change in how the government conceptualizes these incidents. What could explain such a dramatic policy reversal? Official statements cite national security concerns, but whistleblowers suggest more profound factors. Luis Elizondo indicates the shift began when multiple credible military witnesses and sensor data made continued denial untenable. Christopher Mellon points to the frequency and quality of military encounters creating an information forcing function that overwhelmed institutional resistance. David Grush suggested during congressional testimony that the reversal might reflect concerns about foreign adversaries making technological breakthroughs through their own UAP research programs. Others point to internal pressure from officials who recognize the implications of technology penetrating restricted military airspace. Whatever the driving factors, the transformation has created unprecedented transparency around a subject long shrouded in secrecy. For the first time, Congress receives regular briefings on unexplained encounters, standardized reporting systems are being implemented across military branches, and scientific research proceeds without the stigma that previously surrounded the topic. We stand at the precipice of what may be the most significant revelation in human history. The evidence presented by military whistleblowers with impeccable credentials points toward a profound truth. We are not alone. The evidence speaks for itself. Documented encounters with technology displaying capabilities beyond our understanding of physics, consistent patterns of interest in our nuclear capabilities, and testimonies from those safeguarding our nation's most sensitive secrets. These revelations raise fundamental questions about our cosmic place. As this carefully guarded secret emerges into public consciousness, our civilization faces its greatest test. Will we embrace this transformative reality and redefine our understanding of existence itself?